Hi everyone. So, I was doing some breath work on Sunday for the second new moon in Cancer. I'm so tired of being in my feels right now, but it's necessary. It's fine. But I want to talk about sight because it has become such an important aspect, and it has been and continues to be an important aspect in spirituality. People wearing, eyes, and the all-seeing eye, and opening up our third eye, and you've got to see it to believe it. And I was considering that, and you got to see it to believe it. And I've said before, our beliefs create our lifestyles. So however we perceive things naturally is our truth, and we experience our truth, and our truth is what we speak from. So it all comes back to how we see a situation, how we perceive it, our perspective, our perception. And so it's one of those things where it's like I'm opening up my third eye so I can properly see everything in order to comprehend it from a higher level, from a higher perspective, in order to elevate myself. And so it's no coincidence that our eyes, we have our regular eyes, and that our third eye creates that masculine triangle, that ascending force, that rising within us. It's something through which allows us another pressure or capacity in order to elevate ourselves and be charged with rising above, and ascending to another plane of existence, another plane of comprehension and knowing, to having higher experiences. But the thing is, we see and perceive with more than our eyes. I mean, take for example our emotional body, the fact that we're empaths. We perceive something through our emotional body. We perceive something a certain way when we become overwhelmed in our emotions. Same goes for our mental body. When we get too encapsulated in the mind and take things personally, in order to protect ourselves in some way. And so we have many eyes, but they are not all optical. We have many methods and means of perceiving the same type of situation, person, or experience. The same goes for the roles that we take on in society and the mirrors through which we interact. They're all different facets through which we perceive and experience our reality. And so I find it's funny, when considering the seraphim, one of the highest ranks of angels, right? And how they're written and depicted as beings just covered in eyeballs, because that's us. Once we realize how we co-create our experience, once we begin to understand how all of our natural resources are, divine assets, so to speak, all have to do with sight, with not just with sight, but with perception, with perspective. They are all different facets of how we experience and how we create that experience. And so that's why it's so important for us to navigate the emotional body, to be able to comprehend our mental state, to be able to use these aspects of ourselves as resources, as, methods of retrieving and receiving information. It's not just what we see through our eyes. It's not just that inner sight. It's a combination of all of it. That's why we focus on integration, embodiment, on unifying the self. And I have a funny story to break this up with. So, going back to seraphim, covered in eyeballs. I was absolutely terrified. I was absolutely terrified at that concept of a being covered in eyeballs, covered in eyes. I was a huge fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when I was growing up, so much so that I collected the trading cards. And there was one villain in particular I was deathly afraid of, and his name happened to be the Eye Guy, I believe. And he was covered in eyeballs. And I just remember being utterly terrified of him because I'm like, you can't hide from him. You can't hide under the bed. Even his feet have eyes. He would see me. So anytime I got this trading card, I would throw a fit. And my mom and my grandma would have to run in, and they would have to tear up that image and throw it away because I feared it so much. I feared it so much. And now I think it's just so funny because we are that. We have all of these eyeballs. It's not all about optics. It's not all about the outside world. So that's something that I wanted to kind of bring into our awareness at this time. Because when we talk about sight, when we talk about seeing, when we talk about wanting to be seen, it's on such a deep, it goes so deep. It goes so deep. It's to be felt, to be understood, to really kind of, for us to see the divinity in one another, for us to truly unify, and not in ways that make us drones, but in order to appreciate all that is and all that we are privileged with the experience of perceiving and of witnessing, of observing. And so it is only through what we see can we speak on. And so when we speak our truth, it's all based off of, well, how much are we allowing ourselves to perceive? How much, perspective are we taking into account? And it's like, however we perceive things, we're allowing us to recognize and process more truth as we reach these different levels and understandings of how we interact with the world and how we take in information and what is considered information. And so kind of diverging from that a little bit is I want to go back to that graph that I made the other day. And yes, I'm bringing the whiteboard back, y'all. It is back in full effect. So just a little review here. So we have the cross of self, which is the masculine and feminine aspects within our own experience. So we have the horizontal feminine line, which is our timeline essentially, past, present, future. We have the masculine aspect, which up here is positive/action, negative/inaction. Here we're in the middle, the intersection between basically our mind or how we perceive an experience, or whether or not we're in motion, and being in the present within this timeline. And here we have the legacy of the feminine, the legacy of the masculine, creating that X or chi, as I believe it is in the Greek alphabet, or ki, because that's also called, because chi also meaning energy, ki also meaning energy, but I think this is like the Japanese pronunciation of it. But it's funny because it's also a key to our understanding and to our elevation, is because our experience goes far beyond the self. We do things for the self as a means to have it radiate outward in hopes that that experience may also be had by others. That is truly what a legacy is. We desire to leave something, or to leave some type of imprint or mark, in order for others to also experience that and to benefit from it, right? So when we're in a state of being fully unified, being fully integrated, being actually very quantum and multidimensional, is when we're in this state of balance and we understand and have enough sense or patience to know when it's time to take action, when it's time to not take action, to understand what influences are being caused by the masculine and feminine predecessors in order to understand where we're leading ourselves or our successors in terms of the timeline. And so whether we take action or inaction, it creates a wave or a ripple in time. And this is also like the legacy of our DNA, our ancestry. So I know that was a lot in just a little bit, but going back to this cross of self and the chi of legacy, as I will call it, this is also a star. This is also us being a star. And it's so funny. There are times when I really questioned, okay, why did I call myself Venetia Starbound Observer? And it's funny because growing up, we wish upon stars. We call celebrities stars. It's something that we aim for that feels really out of reach. But it is this point of light that exists among the darkness, that exists among mystery and potential. And the more that we begin to explore the stars, then we're finally able to see our sun as one of them, right? And our sun represents all of that, energy and vitality that we're able to receive in order to take action. It is that, it represents the time of day in which we have those interactions. And then at night is when we reflect, we're in that state of inaction. We're in that state of resting. It's our days represent that cosmic ebb and flow that we ourselves go through. But when it comes to our work and becoming more divine, becoming our divine selves and unifying ourselves within and without, we're also working on activating our light body, which I'm sure many of you have heard that term. Whether it's activating our crystalline light DNA, or just being able to hold and take in more light, which is also known as information. And it's through all that which we perceive, our perspective, which allows us to process more information, right? As we become aware of these faculties that we possess. And so as we activate this light body and we're able to sustain and hold and move through and process and act on or not act on information as it moves through us, to us and through us and out of us, radiates out of us, we still have to maintain a sense of groundedness, a relationship with the earth. And I will say this, which is something I haven't considered, is you see these planets in the sky, and they themselves also look like stars, right? Are also perceived as stars. And have any of us wondered, does our earth shine like that? From their perspective, from that planet's perspective, if we were on that planet, does our earth shine like a star? And it made me just take it a step further to say, what if we're taking in this light? What if we are activating our light bodies in order to bring our earth online into the light grid of the cosmos, the galactic light grid? What if we are attempting to plug our earth into this fantastic universal light grid in order for our planet to be seen? In order for us to one day become that star that others wish upon and one day might become also? What if that is the beautiful story of the collective that we're looking for here? What if we are simply doing our best to send out a signal to get our planet online into a much larger community and set of galactic resources? And so I just wanted to present you all with that concept And it all starts with us being able to process information, to process light, to understand all of the ways in which we are able and have been gifted to take in this light, to take in this information. And so none of it, should be taken for granted. That's why we work on our emotional body and acknowledge it and heal it and unify it with our other aspects of self. That is why we begin to comprehend our mental state and how our mind works and how we utilize it as a tool, very much like our emotions. Our own physical body, we aim to take care of it, maintain it, allow it to be healthy. So all of the processes that occur within it, can continue. So it can be our physical, like, dowsing rod of information. So it can hold on to and be able to still help us interpret those emotions, whether they're chemical or otherwise. All of these faculties allow us to carve a path in order to get us online to a much larger network at much higher speeds. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed it. Just remember, whatever you speak is your truth, and make sure that you're using all of the beautiful resources that you have been given in order to vibrate out and radiate out the best, most clearest perception of truth that you can. Granted, we all got our little twang we put on it, but in order for us to really elevate humanity, we must also, while simultaneously becoming divine, we must also become more human. For what that's worth. All right, I will let you all go now. Bye.